This is question number 16. One of the really important things to be doing as you're getting ready for the AP exam. Remember, they can ask you anything that's come up this year. So make sure you're going back very carefully through your book, checking to make sure that you haven't forgotten things. And obviously these multiple choice questions will kind of jog your memory about things you might have forgotten. So they ask you to take the derivative of this. You notice there's a y in the middle of the equation. You're not going to be able to solve for y easily. This is an implicit differentiation problem. So remember, implicit differentiation, if you've got something like y squared plus 5x or something like that, and you're taking the derivative, you take the derivative like normal, but you multiply by the derivative of the inside function with respect to whatever you're taking the derivative with respect to. So here you would get 5 times the derivative of x with respect to x. And of course, that's just 1. And then usually you isolate the dy dx and you solve your equation. So of course, they're never going to give you anything that simple, which is why we looked at a lot of those really higher level ones. Forrester really threw us some good ones in that section, and it's appropriate for the AP exam. So anyway, this one's very standard. Take the derivative of the outside function, you get a cosine. Inside function doesn't change, okay? However, you have to multiply by the derivative of the inside function. It's a chain rule problem. And so this is where you're going to have to do some work. We're taking the derivative of xy, and I would probably do this off to the side. Okay, that's x times y, so it's the product of two variables. It's a product rule, and you have to do implicit differentiation. So product rule says take the derivative of the first term, which is derivative of x with respect to x, dx dx, or you could just say 1. Derivative of the first times the second, plus the first times the derivative of the second. We're going to take the derivative of y with respect to x, okay? So you don't need the 1 there. It's just going to be y plus x dy dx. And you probably remember from that Forrester section, almost every problem had an xy in it. So that's very, very common. Some of you might have even almost memorized that by the end. So that's the derivative of the inside function. It's getting multiplied by this whole thing. Okay, and in fact, you may want to put it out in front so you don't think it's getting multiplied by the xy. It's getting multiplied by that whole cosine of xy. Anyway, I'm just going to write this down here. Make sure you've got parentheses on it. The whole thing is being multiplied there. Okay, so took the derivative of the outside, inside stayed the same. We multiplied by the derivative of the inside function. This side's done. Derivative of the other side, of course, is the derivative of x with respect to x. That's just dx dx, which is really just 1. Okay, now we just have to solve for dy dx and we're done. I have a feeling there's going to be some manipulating that will have to happen once we do this though. Remember, you're trying to isolate this, so you've got to get inside parentheses there, distribute this out. Y is getting multiplied by cosine of xy, and then this x dy dx is getting multiplied by the cosine of xy. And that's all equal to 1. So move everything that's not the dy dx over to the other side. So this stuff's going to go over here as a negative y cosine of xy. So we're going to be left with an x dy dx cosine of xy on the left. We're going to have 1 minus this guy on the right-hand side. And then the dy dx is being multiplied by both of these two values, so we can divide by both of those two values, and we can get dy dx by itself. That's kind of the big idea here. And we divide by x cosine of xy over on this side. Now, my gut instinct here is that probably that won't match up with one of the answers. We're probably going to have to reformat this into some other form. Of course, we're just going to be left with dy dx over here. But hey, we can always hope, right? Okay, let's take a look at the answers here. Does anything match that? I've got a 1 minus y cosine of x cosine of... Oh my gosh. If I'm looking at it right, it looks like that's choice D. I'll let you verify my work there. But anyway, looks like we might have an answer.